Hi everyone, my name is ANALYN TIGO and my topic for today is Protozoa. So what is Protozoa? So protozoa are unicellular, eukaryotic chemoheterotrophic organisms. Among the protozoa are many variations in the cell structure. As we shall see, protozoa inhabit water and soil. The feeding and growing stage, or trophozoite, feeds upon bacteria and small particulate nutrients. Some protozoa are part of the normal microbiota of animals. Nosema lacostae, an insect pathogen, is sold commercially as a non-toxic insecticide to kill grasshoppers. Because the protozoa are specific for grasshoppers, they will not affect humans or animals that eat grasshoppers. Fire ants cause millions of dollars in agricultural damage each year and can cause painful stings. Researchers at the U.S. Department of Agriculture are studying an apicomplexan protozoan that reduces egg production by fire ants. Of the nearly 20,000 species of protozoa, relatively few cause human disease. Those few, however, have significant health and economic impact. Worldwide, malaria is the fourth leading cause of death. So, what are the protozoan disease of cardiovascular lymphatic system? So, let's go back for the protozoa. So protozoa are mostly aerobic heterotrophs, although many intestinal protozoa are capable of anaerobic growth through chlorophyll-containing groups. Dinoflagellates and euglenoids are often studied with algae. All protozoa live in areas with large supply of water. Some protozoa transport food across the plasma membrane. However, some have a protective covering or pellicle and thus require specialized structures to take in food. Ciliates in food by waving their cilia toward a mouth-like opening called cytosome. Amoeba engulf food by surrounding it with pseudopods and phagocytizing it. In all protozoa, digestion takes place in membrane-enclosed vacuoles, and waste may be eliminated through the plasma membrane or through a specialized pore. So now let's proceed for the what are the protozoan disease of cardiovascular lymphatic system. So I have brought two disease. First is Chagas disease and next is the malaria. So Chagas disease, also known as American trypanosomiasis, is caused by the parasite Trypanosoma cruzi. It is transmitted to the humans via redovid bug or the kissing bugs and is therefore characterized as a zoonotic disease. Chagas disease is similar to African sleeping sickness, which is caused by the African trypanosome. The risk factors for Chagas disease include living where redovid bugs live, including areas of Central and South America. In addition, it is possible to obtain Chagas via blood transfusion from individual with the active disease. So, the next disease is malaria. So, malaria is a parasitic disease that is caused by the bite of an infected Anopheles mosquito. Malaria can be transmitted from mother to baby and by blood transfusions. The Anopheles mosquito transmits the parasites called sporozoites upon biting the host into the bloodstream to the liver where the parasites continue their life cycle. In the liver, the parasites mature and release another form called merozoites, which enter the bloodstream and infect the red blood cells. In the red blood cells, they develop into ring forms called trophozoites and schizons that in turn produce further merozoites. Upon infection of red blood cells, the parasite is able to multiply within the cell, break open, and continue infecting additional red blood cells. The symptoms occur in a cyclical manner every 48 to 72 hours. Malaria is characterized by the development of symptoms that include high fevers, shaking chills, flu-like symptoms, and anemia. So, the introduction is um, introduction to malaria is all the manifestation of malarial illness is caused by the infection of the red blood cells by the asexual forms of the malaria parasites, and the involvement of the red cells makes malaria a potentially multi-system disease as every organ of the body is rich by blood. All types of malaria manifest with common symptoms such as fever. Some patients may progress into severe malaria, although severe malaria is more often seen in cases of P. falciparum infection. Complications and even deaths have been reported in non-falciparum malaria as well. So let's proceed to the etiology. So malaria is caused by protozoa of the genus Plasmodium. 4 species cause disease in humans: P. falciparum, P. vivax, P. oval, and P. malariae. Other species of Plasmodia infect reptiles, birds, and other mammals. Malaria is spread to humans by bite of female mosquitoes of genus Anopheles. Next, let's proceed to the pathophysiology of malaria. So, malaria has been a major disease of humankind for thousands of years. It is referred to in numerous biblical passages and in the writings of Hippocrates. Although drugs are available for treatment, malaria is still considered by many to be the most important infectious disease of humans. There are approximately 200 million to 500 million new cases each year in the world, and the disease is direct cause of 1 million to 2.5 million deaths per year. So, health and physical. The most characteristic symptom of malaria is fever. Other common symptoms include chills, headache, myalgias, nausea, and vomiting. Diarrhea, abdominal pain, and cough are occasionally seen. As the disease progresses, some patients may develop the classic malaria paroxysm with bouts of illness alternating with symptom-free periods. The malaria paroxysm comprises 3 successive stages. The first is 15 to 60-minute cold stage characterized by shivering and feeling of cold. Next comes the 2 to 6 hour hot stage in which there is fever, sometime reaching to 41 degrees Celsius, flush, dry skin, and often headache, nausea, and vomiting. So, evaluation. Definitive diagnosis of malaria generally requires direct observation of malaria parasites and GM-sustained thick and thin blood smears. Thick blood smears are more difficult to interpret than thin blood smears, but they are much more sensitive as more blood is examined. thin blood smears in which parasites are seen within erythrocytes are used to determine the species of the infecting parasite. The presence of diagnostic forms can vary markedly with the stage of the life cycle, especially early in disease. So, treatment treatment and management. So, sa first treatment, the widespread resistance of P. falciparum to chloroquine complicates treatment of falciparum malaria. Alternative drugs such as mifloquine, pyrimethamine, or sulfadoxine, Fansidar, quinidine, halofantrine, and artemisinin derivatives are used. Chloroquine remains highly effective against P. malariae and P. ovale malaria, and against P. vivax everywhere except Papua New Guinea and parts of Indonesia, where significant resistance has developed. Disease caused by P. vivax and P. ovale requires primaquine to eradicate latent liver forms of parasites. So, the prevention. Malaria may be prevented by chemoprophylaxis and personal protective measures to control the vector. Exposure to night-feeding Anopheles mosquitoes is reduced by using protective clothing, insect repellents, insecticides, insecticide-impregnated bed nets, etc. Mosquitoes may be reduced by destroying breeding places and by application of insecticide. Vaccines are being developed. So, that's all for my presentation this day. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.